Hello everyone. This is new to me, but we're doing some YouTube content. So for background, I am a player of Dota 2 for about 4 or 5 years now, and I just recently hit 8,000 MMR. Great milestone for me. And I wanted to start making YouTube videos because I can learn from them myself and I can hopefully teach some newer players to the game. Um, but yeah, I think it'll just be fun. Maybe eventually I can get a following, get some people to watch, go along with my Dota 2 journey together. And so today I wanted to start making a tier list for my first video because we all know tier lists are popular, tier lists are fun. We love tier lists. I love tier lists. So I'm gonna be starting. Sorry, I'm just looking back. My cat keeps entering the room. Anyways, we're gonna start now. This is North American rank, by the way, 546 North America. We're climbing. I'm not a pro by any means, and I think I'm decent at the game. I'm not good enough to make it to the very high MMR yet, but we're still learning. It's a learning journey, and let's get it started. So I'm an offlaner. So what I wanted to make this video on was about the offlane role 7.35V, and let's go. So let's start it off here by kind of just saying what's really in the meta right now for a lot of offlaners is um, you want to buy Shiva's Guard, great item, builds from Veil. So you start with a helm. You start with you start with a helm to give you some armor and regen, just help you survive lane, and then you'll eventually move on to building your boots and then a Veil usually. Sometimes people just rush Veil. It's fine. It's really good. It amps your damage. It gives you armor. Anyways, Veil being super popular. Mage Slayer, Vlad's. Vlad's is a huge offlane item as well now. They've just nerfed the cost. Actually, buffed the cost, sorry. Nerf means bad, buff means good, and the cost went down, which is good, not bad. So Vlad's is a lot cheaper, and so you can buy it on a lot of heroes. So, Nature's Prophet is on the F tier because, well, we'll talk about that in a second, but, good heroes right now are heroes that in the off lane, typically you want people that can just kind of run at you and use their Shivas and their armor, their high HP pools with armor and magic resistance and all that, just to get in your face, cause pressure, harass the enemy carry, make a lot of space, typical offlane things. Anyways, let's talk about natures. Starting off, this hero, he just is not an offlaner anymore. He used to be. People would max trance, win your lane because he's a good laner, push the lanes out, and just make space like that. You can teleport to other lanes to pressure, but no, not anymore. This hero, I think you can maybe play him as an offlaner if you are super willing to like play an off meta hero and it's just not very good right now in the off lane. You want to play it as a support in either lane. You can play it as a support. You can win side lanes, both side. You can win all three lanes with natures as support. It's very strong. You can maybe play it as a mid or a carry with greedy items like Orchid and Bloodthorn and BKB and stuff like that. And Gleipnir is very strong right now as well. But I would stay away from it on the off lane. Now, Bristleback, same thing. He was very strong in 7.34, and he just got nerfed so many times that I wouldn't even. His main role was offlane or maybe carry. It was both of them where he was strong in. He's so dumpstered now. You can't play him. Just don't pick Bristleback. Simple as that. Yep. Get out of the F tier quickly. D tier. Hold on, I'm kind of bad at using this whole thing again. It's new to me. Anyways, D tier. We got Axe, Legion, Dawn. Let's talk about those three. They're just heroes that are not very strong in the meta right now. The heroes aren't necessarily terrible, but Axe is just a blink initiator with blade mail. They didn't nerf blade mail, but they just kind of this whole style of building heart blade mail is not really a thing anymore. And the tanky heroes are tanky in different ways. Axe hasn't been super strong ever in the past like 2 years, I'd say. But he was solid, but I just don't think I think there's just so many better options to pick. You don't really want an Axe in your team. Um, Maybe in a lot lower MMRs he can be great, and if you're good at Axe, play him. because he's a solid hero. I don't think he's a terrible hero. This D tier is a little bit, it's not like they're bad heroes, but for reasons they don't shine as others do. Dawnbreaker, honestly, Dawn's probably the worst offlaner in the D tier here. She just doesn't really do anything. Her heal's good, her counter initiates decent, but her damage is fairly low unless you build carry items like Desolator, Radiance, stuff like that. Um, I don't know. She just doesn't really feel like she has a place right now in this current meta. So I would stay away from her. Legion Commander, Blink, Duel, Blade Mail, not great. I don't know. There's a lot of heroes buying Shivas, which just is big armor. There's a lot of auras going around. Pipe, Mech are good. They're in decent spots. Vlad's is good. It just feels like, I mean, maybe I could put Legion in C tier, but it feels like her laning is okay, but there's a lot of carries that kind of can just dumpster LC out of the lane. She doesn't feel super strong. Um, her scaling with duel is good, but right-clicking cores are not really becoming so crazy, especially in the offlane. It's not so important to have a right-clicking core right now. As LC just her duel is good lockdown, but she just feels a little bit weird and not so good to play, at least in my opinion. And this is all my own opinion, so feel free to take what you want. I'm not anyone that should be heavily influencing others at this moment, but Lycan, I don't know. It's okay. He can buy Vlad's. Helm, Dominator, and Helm 2 are probably the worst items in Dota currently. They're just dumpstered. They're terrible. Helm is fine, but you don't really want to build. Let me just save that. Sorry. You don't really want to build Helm 2 at all anymore. It doesn't come from Vlad's, so Vlad's is a standalone item. Vlad's is very good, but if you're playing Lycan with Vlad's, you're not going to be buying Helm because you don't have enough slots. I don't think. Like it's just not so good to. It's not so good to go with. Anyways, Lycan is an okay hero, but I think it's better to build him as a carry maybe, going for the max howl and passive. Um, yeah, I would go if I was playing Lycan. I would probably just get an Echo Saber and Harpoon and play more of a carry style. I just wouldn't pick it in the offlane right now unless you're super specialist on it. But even then, I don't know. I think it's just better heroes to pick, especially with Shivas going around. Shiva's going to be a huge topic for this. Try to drink 1 cup of alcohol every time I say the word Shivas. There you go. There's your mission for this video. Anywho, Necro, bad. That's pretty much all I have to say about him. He's kind of like Viper, who will be on this list, an offlaner, but he's just not so good. You can go Shivas on Necro and it makes him okay, but a lot of what made Necro strong last in 7.34 was Blade Mail Heart being just so strong, and his Ags was decent, and he got a ton of HP regen with his Ags. He was very strong. But I don't know. It's just not a thing anymore for him. He dies very squishy. A lot of supports have bursting spells, Lion, Hoodwink, Tiny. So, they kind of just dumpster Necro. He's slow. He doesn't really win lane so hard in the first levels. He can get bullied pretty easily. I'm not a fan of Necro. He can maybe be picked mid, but even then, not so good. Sand King. This hero was strong in the beginning of 7.35, I believe, and then he just got nerfed because Veil and Shivas was so strong they nerfed those a bit. I mean, he's okay. He's okay on Sand King. It's one of my most played heroes, and I like him, but Blink Stun is not really a thing so much, and his Veil's very good on Sand King, but again, the hero just doesn't feel as strong as others with Veil, Chivas. It's okay though. It's not terrible, but it's not great. D tier. Wraith King nerfed so hard. Nerfed so hard. Maybe even F tier for offlane. I'd probably pick Wraith King carry. He's just nerfed so hard. What made him strong as an offlaner was just buying a Blade Mail and being super tanky, getting an early Radiance, just kind of being a second carry, but they nerfed a lot of his numbers, and that's just kind of like the skeletons got so many nerfs in a row. It doesn't even make him that strong of, like before you could just get 4 skeletons and insta win the lane no matter what. But now it's a little bit different. I would stay away from Wraith King. Tiny's a better support or mid. You play Tiny 4, you play Tiny mid, he's great. But offlane, I don't think it's so good. I would rather just, if I see a Tiny on my team, let's say I'm playing and I see Tiny on enemy team in the beginning of the game, I'm going to assume he's going mid or support. depending on when he was picked in the draft. He's never going to be an offlaner almost, unless you specifically play a lot of tiny offlane. And Conda's really a nice item on him. The crit and the phylactery is good. Echo Sabers is okay right now. Blink is good, but a lot of this is just it's better to have solo XP as a mid laner, or if you play the tiny roaming 4 style where you toss back and avalanche is really strong. So I think tiny's a great support and a great mid, but offlane not so well, not so good. Tusk, kind of basically the same thing with tiny. Tusk mid has not really been a thing for quite some time. I would just stick to Tusk on 4-5. Tusk is actually a great 5 with some of the ranged carries. And he's really good as a 4. You can just roam, classic Tusk things. Phoenix offlane is interesting because I think it can work, but it's hard, and the hero just I don't know. I think you can do the same things you can do on Phoenix offlane but you can do it as a 4 or 5, so you don't take that role as a core and get the farm and stuff. Because let's say you're playing Phoenix 4 and you really want to be, some big damage dealer or whatever, you can get a Midas, and you can have high impact with just a Midas because Phoenix, that's just the nature of Phoenix's spells, and you can farm and you can go late game. You can get some good mid game timings with a Midas and big items afterwards. Shiva's is great on Phoenix, but I just think, if you're gonna play him I don't know. I just don't see why you would pick him as an offlaner when you can play him as a 4 or 5. It's just so much better in those roles. Especially because really the only core item you really need on Phoenix is Shard, and it's one item. Like you don't really need to be greedy and get farm. Obviously Phoenix with farm can work. Refresher, Shiva's, Ags is okay. It's okay as a 3. I don't think it's terrible, but I would pick something else. Alchemist. Alchemist can be interesting in professional games. Sometimes it can be picked as a 3 because of just the way professional games go. They pick a lot of different things in the offlane because they see things that we as public match players don't see, pubs. But I don't know. I don't think offlane Alk is bad. Shiva's is really good on Alk actually, like really good. Makes him tanky, buffs up his spells. Blink, Shiva's, Blade Mail could be okay. Mage Slayer Alk is good. Anyways, it's alright, but probably not an offlaner. Again, pick its carry. Just carry. It's a pretty decent carry. Ember Spirit. Ember offlane was a thing for a little bit, but I think it's dying down, and it can only be picked really just because of the fact that Mage Slayer is so broken right now, and Ember is the best Mage Slayer user in the game, one of them at least. Sleight of Fist applying Mage Slayer to every target is just crazy. It's okay, but probably just a D tier offlaner. Better mid. Let's go to C tier. Oh, I'm showing the other things, which I didn't want to do, but whatever. It is what it is. This is my first video as a YouTuber. Anyways, let's go here. C tier. Brewmaster, pretty strong 7.34, pretty strong 7.33. He's been quite strong recently, but I just don't think he really fits into this meta. There's a lot of dispels going around with Disperser. And the nature of Brew is that he doesn't like dispels. He used to have a pretty cool item build where you go Midas, you just rush Midas into Radiance, sometimes even without boots, and it was super strong. You got a really big timing with your Radiance and level 12 split, and you were able to just 1v5 at that point in the game. And even with Radiance and like level 1 split, like you're level 11, you're still gonna 1v5. But I don't know. Radiance is not so great with Mage Slayer going around. And also Midas has been nerfed, which is a pretty big thing about Brew. You can still go Vessel. Brew's not terrible. C tiers. All these heroes are going to be playable. They're just if you like them a lot, you pick them. Slardar, Shiva's, a lot of armor, physical damage being less prominent in this meta is kind of, it just hurts Slardar. Slardar can be good to buff certain heroes, like let's say you have an SF mid and a TA carry or something. Slardar can be kind of nice at that, but I don't know. Not as strong as he used to be for sure. He could still be a really tanky nuisance in fights with Ags, but not the best. So C tier fits him. DK, probably a better mid, but he's tanky. He can be kind of greedy. He can get a blink. He can set up. It's kind of like a little bit better of a Legion commander just because he has more tower presence and he can kind of come online a bit earlier and just be that DK that just takes your tower at minute 7 and then you're not happy. Breathe Fire reduces damage. It's a pretty solid hero, but I think I'd rather pick him as a mid with the Ags, Manta, Blink. Kunkka, very strong hero in the past few patches. They nerfed Blade Mail Heart meta, so fell off a bit. His Ags got nerfed. They took away his 20 talent, which is like a torrent cooldown now, I think. It's terrible. Torrent cooldown -4 seconds. I don't know. I think the hero's still pretty playable. Just not in the way that he was broken last time. So you could still pick him. He's probably fine. Night Stalker. Night Stalker's good against these Pucks and Embers and Storms and all these mobile mid heroes that are really annoying to play against. And if you don't have the right lineup, they can just become absolutely unkillable. Like let's say for Puck, for example, is fairly popular. And if you have a Night Stalker, you just blink silence him and he's dead every time. He can't play the game. Puck cannot play the game versus Night Stalker unless he buys some sort of BKB or he Yules you or something like that. You know, it's a pretty hard matchup, and I think Night Stalker is not the best offlaner, but it's very good in countering these specific mobile mid and carry heroes. Omni Knight. Omni Knight can be played as more of a support style, which is fairly coming back into play in the offlane with Vlad's um, and auras becoming more popular, but I don't think Omni is great at that. I think he's pretty solid with using Harpoon and his E with the shard. It heals you, it does pure damage. He can do quite a lot of single target damage actually, and his ulti has been reworked, so it's a bit interesting to see this Guardian Angel spell. I don't know if it's better or worse, but it feels it's interesting. It's going to be a hero that probably develops a bit more as we get into 7.35C and 7.35D. But I don't know. It's solid, not terrible, but it's not too great. Razor, I've been seeing Razor and it just loses. It's not amazing. Um, I don't know. Razor just doesn't feel like something like you can just kite Razor a lot of the times, and you can buy Shivas, slow him, and he's just kited. But a popular build I've seen on Razor is just rushing a Mage Slayer, and it can be pretty decent. And a lot of Razor is picking it into a core. So let's say you have last pick on offlane, and they pick some Troll or some Gyro or something. You could just pick Razor and fully counter and have a really easy game. But I would probably, I don't know, Razor can even be in the D tier. He just feels kind of weak. Um, he's okay with Shivas, pretty good with Mage Slayer, but I would probably end up picking something else. Spirit Breaker. This hero could go up a tier, but he's been getting some nerfs. He's still quite playable and he's quite good. I think he's a little bit better as a 4 or a greedy mid, just because of the fact that you can't rush Midas and then go into Octarine and then have a Shadow Blade and have all that by 25 minutes and just end the game because no one can catch you and you can cut every single wave. He still somewhat does that, but it's not as good as before. So Underlord. Underlord is an interesting hero. It's tanky. It has good damage. Great Shiva's buyer. It's decent with Atos, and maybe you can go Gleipnir, some sort of right-click build. Eternal Shroud's good on him. Just be super tanky guy with auras, Greaves. You could go Vlad's. Pipe. Pipe is in a good spot. So Underlord's decent. Wind Ranger, you can play her with a Gleipnir. Gleipnir's a very strong item. I've seen a couple Mage Slayer builds. She's a solid hero. She's strong with the Javelin rework because his Javelin's only 900 gold now. So you can get a Javelin and Stomp. You could go Diffusal into maybe Disperser. A lot of strong items are strong. A lot of Wind Ranger items are strong right now, which makes her pretty strong. She could be. I think she's better, much better mid, and she could even be played carry. But offlane, it's okay. It's okay. If you really truly want to be the carry of the team, pick Wind 3. Bounty, level 25, no cooldown Janata is quite good, but how often are you getting level 25 on Bounty Hunter? It feels like this hero, you'd kind of want him as maybe just a 4 and not anything else. I don't know. He feels a little bit weird. You can play him as offlane for sure. Have a really fast-paced tempo lineup, just running down lanes, tracking people, killing them, super fast-paced. It can work. It's not great, but it's not that bad. Bounty's a decent hero. It's got good stats. It's a decent laner. Can roam really well. Doesn't really buy any of these super popular items, but if you just, bounty players will make it work. Earthshaker, it's good, but it has been better. I would say I would probably want to have this hero as a 4 instead. They kind of killed it a bit as a mid, but because of all the melee mids kind of leaving. and Shaker dumpsters them. Shaker's an interesting hero because it's not one of the best offlaners. It doesn't have a like. It's just a it's just a support I think, but it's not bad as a 3. I don't really know what else to say about this hero, but it's okay. Veno, I love Veno, but ever since they reworked his ultimate, he's felt more like a different hero than he used to be. So I'm not quite sure. I put him in C tier just because he's solid. There are some professional teams that run him sometimes, and he can be a good 3 to just stomp out the lane and just make it absolutely miserable for the enemy carry to actually just play the game. They just hate themselves. They want to die every time they go against this hero. Um, he can buy Shivas. He's a good Shivas buyer. Um, he's okay with some of the other items. He can maybe buy Mage Slayer. It's interesting, but good aura carrier, good Shivas buyer. It's just Venomancer. Venomancer's going to do what Venomancer does. He's universal now, which makes him a little bit better as well. Batrider. Batrider was super busted when Mage Slayer was, people would just rush Mage Slayer and just win every game on this hero. I think they fixed that. There must be some reason for it. I'm not super positive. I don't know my facts all that much, but Bat's a decent offlaner. He's kind of a weak laner, but once he gets to his level 3 and 5, Firefly just becomes an absolute machine in damage. You just run people down. You destroy them. Blink Shivas on Bat is really strong. Veil is a great item for Batrider. But again, I would probably run Bat as a 4 or even a 5 just because of the nature of how his hero is being played nowadays. But it's still a decent 3. I think you can still easily play it. B tier. Let's get B tier up here. B tier, Abaddon. Abaddon, I think, is a better hard carry because it is an offlaner, but it plays the exact same way you would want to carry. You need to farm. He's not the best lane dominator early on. It's good versus certain matchups, but usually the 5 will just be able to out harass your shields and stuff, and you'll run out of mana. And Echo and Corrosion are good items, and Harpoon, and you typically go Manta, Echo Saber. Corrosion's a great item right now, but yeah, I think I would rather see an Abba as a hard carry because it's just a lot. It's just way too greedy as an offlaner. Um, it can be quite hard to find farm on this hero too because just the nature of his abilities, not really farming too fast. It is much better because of the fact that Curse of Avernus deals damage over time, so you can farm a bit faster with that. But solid hero, I think it's just better as a carry. But it's a great hero right now, so I would pick it. Beast, Beast Ags plus Shiva's build is great. Vlad's early item Vlad's first item Vlad's is always good on Beast. Beast is just a good Vlad's hero. Always has been, always will be. Helm is not a thing anymore. So if I was playing Beast, I would go Vlad's into Aghanims into Shivas, just because that's a crazy build. Get a Blink ulti on top of someone with Ags and Shivas, they're gonna shred. They're just gonna melt, and you're just doing Beastmaster things. Solid hero. Darkseer, very good Shiva's buyer. Very good Shiva's buyer. Shiva's Vacuum is one of the best uses of Shiva's because you're just going to catch everyone with it. So it's 5-man Shivas. If you get a nice Vacuum off, Wall is good against some of these heroes like Abaddon and like Luna and stuff, some of the popular carry heroes. He's solid, but you kind of need to have coordination, and pubs he's not so great because it's just a weak laner. And it's kind of hard to make work sometimes if you just have teammates that aren't, playing the game. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot on your own. But again, Shiva's, Blink, Ags. You could buy any aura on Darkseer and make it work because he's a great aura carrier. Overall, solid hero. You get a Darkseer plus a Spirit Breaker and you're sitting pretty. Magnus. Magnus has Blink with RP. You get like skewers. You get harpoons. Echo Saber is a good item, but usually you just blink and RP and you can pull people back. Collapse made it super popular a couple years ago. Ever since then, he's been a solid hero. They've nerfed it. It came back when it became universal. Overall, Magnus is going to be good. You can just do Magnus things. There's not really a whole lot to say about the hero besides Skewer being really strong, especially because they reworked it to where it does damage based on distance. So you get a big Skewer down, doing more damage. Basically, just a good hero. Mars has seen some buffs. So he got, I believe in 7.35, he got some cast times reduced, so he can reliably land spear plus arena every time now. So you can spear first and then arena after, and you'll always catch them. It's great. It feels really strong. It's a decent laner. And a lot of builds I'm seeing now is just rushing Vlads. So you go phase boot Soul Ring Vlads as your first main item, and it feels super strong. I've played a couple games on it. It's very strong. Blink is good on Mars. Um, Mage Slayer is good on Mars. You can apply it with God's Rebuke. Shiva's is pretty good on Mars. Good hero in general. Tide, same thing as Mars. People are going phase Vlads and just they're winning their lanes. You're just you can farm fast with Tide Vlads. You have good sustain. You can buy Mage Slayer first. I've seen it a couple times. Mage Slayer is very good on Tide along with Vlads. The only problem with Tide is he can have some pretty rough matchups, and he's just Tide. He does everything you kind of want. He's just an all-arounder offlaner. Very good hero. I suggest go pick him. His shard is great. You can just leash people. A lot of hits too. Blink, Vlad's, Mage Slayer, good items. You can buy Shivas on Tide easily. You can go Ags. You can go Refresher. Very versatile hero. Winter Wyvern. This hero has seen a lot of play in the support roles and the offlane as well. I think it's a pretty decent 4. It's an okay 5, and it's a great offlaner because you just press Q and you have Mage Slayer, and you just apply Mage Slayer to everyone. Great Mage Slayer carrier, far away, you can cast it. You can cast your Q, and you can hit people from very far away with Mage Slayer. It works great to just, cancel blinks, reduce all the damage that's happening in team fights. Curse is a really good spell. Witchblade is in a good spot. Parasma's great on Wyvern if you can get to that point. Just a pretty strong hero, but her laning is quite weak, and you need a good support with you to help make it work. You can be griefed. You can grief a lot of games, especially if you're misusing Curse and her E, Cold Embrace. So it's probably good to understand the hero a lot before picking it, but I think it's a very strong hero. Now, also, by the way, these are in no particular order. They're just kind of thrown out there. So Pudge, Pudge is great. Shiva's is very strong. Veil is just insanely good on Pudge. He needs the armor. He needs the regen. His Flesh Heap just pretty much blocks rot damage. You don't have to worry too much about that. Ever since they reworked Veil and Shiva's, he's just been a very strong hero. I think he's better in the core roles than support right now. Just rot with Ags doing a ton of damage. Shiva's is really good. Blink, the typical offlane things you can pressure. The only thing that Pudge kind of suffers with is damage sometimes. So that's why I think he's better offlaner than carry, because he doesn't do right click damage. And you just kind of want your carry to have that a lot of the times. But it can work great as like a counter pick to other carries. Lone Druid is Lone Druid. They didn't really nerf him that hard. They did nerf the bear armor, so you have to be a little more careful in the early levels, but Lone Druid is still just a great hero. He buys Diffusal, Echo, good items. He just is Lone Druid. He just has a great laning stage. He can snowball super hard if picked within the right lineup. He wins lane and then just runs at you and cripples your supports with the roots and the slows from Diffusal, and he can buy Ags, split push. Great hero overall. Broodmother. Broodmother is the subject of Orchid going into Bloodthorn, and Bloodthorn is hugely buffed, where it lets each unit that hits the target from Bloodthorn, each unit does like 60 or 70 magical damage. So Bloodthorn builds now from Javelin, and you apply Bloodthorn on someone with like 2 stacks of the ult from Broodmother, and you have some spiders going around. You have a miniature spider armor. You don't even need to have that many, and each spider will deal 60 magical damage to that target. So you press Bloodthorn on someone with some spiders, and the hero dies in 1 second. It's insane. You can use Bloodthorn on Roche with the spiders. It melts Roche on. It's a solid hero, but it's a bit more of a specialist hero. But I think in good Brood games, you can pretty much win always. Even in bad Brood games, you can win by finding pickoffs with Bloodthorn. You basically just want to rush Bloodthorn every game on Brood, and you can cheese some games quite hard. Now Venge. Venge is a great hero right now. She's very strong as a support, and I think she can be a pretty damn good 3 position because She just gets Aghanims. She has 2 lives. Her spells are all super strong. They just buffed her ultimate to be um, a lot more damage now. So instead of giving a percentage damage reduction, it just does flat damage, where 150 damage on level 1 to the enemy, and you shield yourself for that same amount, and your allies get the barrier as well. So let's say you are max level and you do 450 damage. Uh, uh, with your ultimate, you give your ally a 450 barrier shield if you're swapping them out. So you're gonna save your allies. You're gonna deal a ton of damage to enemies. If you take the level 10 damage talent, you're doing so much damage with just swap plus your stun. And then you have 2 lives. So let's say you swap an enemy in, all the enemies focus you while your team kills the guy you swapped. Then you come back to life and do it again, and you're just so tanky. Venge's a great Vlad's buyer. I might even put her in A tier. She's a great Vlad's buyer. Um, she's good with Ags. She can buy support items if you want to play support style from the offlane, or you can buy Manta, Dragonlance, and do a lot more damage with stats from Venge with Ags. Overall, just a pretty solid offlaner. Now A tier, this is where these heroes become pretty strong. Um, Death Prophet, Veil, Shivas. That's pretty much all you need to say. Eternal Shroud is good on her. You just get magic resistance, you press Shivas, you slow everyone. It buffs up your siphons, it buffs up your ultimate. You're doing a ton of damage, you're just causing havoc in team fights. My biggest issue with Death Prophet is she gets kited, but they kind of fixed that a little bit with her silence now slowing as well as Shiva's slowing, so huge impact on team fights. There's not really much more to say about Death Prophet besides the fact that she just is a very strong hero. She doesn't have any stuns, um, so enemies can kind of get away from you quite easily. But if you pick her with some sort of stunning initiating 4, then she just kind of runs down games, destroys them. She's also very good mid. You can flex her between mid and off lane. She might even be a better mid just for the solo experience factor, but she's very solid. Enigma, Vlad's is just incredibly strong right now. You rush Vlad's on Enigma, your Eidolons are doing a ton of damage. They just made it so the fact that when your Eidolons split, they now attack the same target they were already focusing on, which makes it quite nice because a lot of times you'd miss an attack or two on your Eidolons because they would split and they would just not hit the same target, which now it's just a much better hero. You can't deny creeps, but Enigma's more of it plays kind of like a brood-ish, where you just kind of push lanes and you're just a good team fighter with Enigma spells. It's pretty similar to Visage, I think, but it's got its own playstyle with Blink, BKB. Shiva's is super good on Enigma. It's one of the better carriers of it right now, so good heroes all around. Primal Beast. The Primal Beast is super strong with Shivas. Veil plus Shivas, and you're slowing people. You can buy Blade Mail still on Primal. It's great. Aghanims is very good on Primal. You hit your power spike of level 5 and 6, and you're just doing a ton of damage with Trample, and his ultimate is really good because it goes through BKB, so it's a BKB piercing disable. Primal just needs to make it out of those couple early levels, and then he becomes a problem on the map. He's one of the strongest heroes in the early to mid game. Definitely a great offlaner. Timbersaw. He's got a ton of damage. They buffed his reactive a lot, so now he's actually able to survive the lane. He's one of the best Shiva's carriers. Veil obviously giving him some more armor and regen, which he likes to have, and Veil buffing all his spells, which deal pure damage. So the spell increase on the enemies that are affected by Veil it buffs up pure damage even more. So you're just doing a ton of damage on Timber. It's pretty good versus a lot of the summons heroes that we're seeing. Vlad's buyers, you just are Timber. You don't care about being attacked by summons or units. Pretty strong hero. Yeah, just a solid pick. You can always pick Timber and carry the game if you're good enough on the hero. The hero is quite difficult though, and I've struggled a lot on Timber, so I kind of avoid him now. But very strong hero. Get your Shivas, get your Eternal Shroud, get your Blinks, get all that stuff. It's very strong. Visage, same with Enigma. Vlad's is very good. Bloodthorn is quite nice on Visage as well. Although it's quite expensive, you usually probably won't buy it until the very end of the game. But the birds are strong. You just buy a Vlad's and an AC and you just melt people. You can buy Pipe, you can buy Greaves even. Um, you get the drum boots usually, drums plus Vlads on Visage, and you're just running down lanes, taking objectives, team fighting like crazy. He's got stuns on his birds. He's survivable. He just kind of does a lot of what you would want your offlaner to do. Um, the only issue is he can be a weak laner sometimes, and if you shut down his game, he can't really play Dota. So I think you would be a lot safer picking Enigma over Visage, but Visage is still great. Um, you just get that early Vlads and your birds go to town. Finally, for the S tier, we've got the most broken heroes right now in the offlane, in my opinion. Centaur's a bit debatable, but I like him a lot. We'll start with Centaur. Centaur just, hoof stomp, double edge, still great spells. They nerfed him a little bit, but I don't think it was enough to make him bad. He just wins lanes. I don't think you can lose a lane on Centaur unless it's some sort of life stealer or drow. But even those heroes that are that are good against him, you can still manage around it. Any physical hitters that are constantly hitting you, you can just max retaliate, go with the farming route, like let's say a troll or something. Troll's never gonna be able to kill you because he kills himself on retaliate. You've hoof stomp during his ulti. For life stealer, if you get hoof stomp and max double edge off before he presses rage, you can just burst him down real quick. Centaur's a great hero, good burster, great Veil user. His spells just heavily benefit from Veil. Blink is good. You just blink on top of people. Eternal Shroud's amazing on Centaur because his double edge deals self damage, so you just negate all of that with Eternal Shroud. It's great. You can even get a pipe if you need for the team. It's really good hero. Just a good hero all around. He just kind of does everything you want an offlaner to. It's like Tide but on crack. It's just a great hero. He's got stuns. You've got initiation. You can even help your team escape with Stampede. You can pretty much do everything. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Eternal Shrouds and Veil and Shiva's. Shiva's is just so good on Centaur. Makes you an incredibly tanky, survivable beast. In the past, Centaur's had armor problems, but now with Veil plus phase boots, you've got like 15, 16 armor by minute 9. You don't have armor problems anymore. It's just a great hero. You can't go wrong with Centaur ever. Viper. Viper just lane dominator. Very good with Mage Slayer. Very good with the Shivas. You can get Ags. Veil gives Viper what he needs, is regen and armor. That's pretty much what Viper needs because, it's just Viper. You get Hurricane Pike for kiting. A lot of times Viper gets kited himself too, but you just deal a ton of damage and you're a tanky beast in the middle of team fights. No one can touch you. They have to focus you down, and if they don't, they're dying from magic damage. Viper likes to harass. He wins almost every lane matchup. The only way to beat Viper is to kill him in the early levels. Once Viper gets level 3, he can't really die without you dying with him. Very strong hero. Easy to play. Mage Slayer is very broken on this hero. Gives him magic resistance on top of the magic resistance he already has, so no one's killing him. Shiva's is good. AoE slow. His Ags is in a good spot. Pike is a fine item. Great hero overall. Doom. Oh man. Doom is regarded as probably the most broken hero of this patch, or at least the most broken offlaner. Scorched Earth plus Veil is very strong. Veil buffs Doom, which is his ultimate. So they changed Doom's ultimate now. He cannot be denied, and ever since 7.34, whoever he dooms will not receive any healing. So if you have an Oracle on the team, you doom their carry, Oracle heals don't work on the carry that you doomed. You can just, no one's buying Midas anymore, which is I think is what Doom's biggest problem was, because you have this Devour tool and this Midas, so you're very greedy in the early level, so it takes you about 15-20 minutes to come online. So you're just farming, and as an offlaner, that's not quite what you want to do all the time. So that's kind of why Doom was having a lot of issues in the past. But he was very strong during the Octarine Vanguard meta, and now that has kind of shifted towards just Veil into Shivas. That's the new Octarine. Octarine's still very good on Doom. You buy a 3rd, 4th item, but usually you just go Veil, Blink, Shivas, BKB, and you just kill everyone. Blink Doom with Veil, you're solo killing any hero you want if you get on top of them with Scorched Earth plus Veil and Doom. It's a very strong hero. The fact that it doesn't, you can TP out of Doom, right? But you can't heal. So you TP out, you're in Fountain, and you still die. So Doom maybe doesn't get the XP for it, but you're still dead. But yeah, Doom doesn't really have a whole lot of issues. He's pretty solid laner. Once you get your level 6, no one can deal with you. Literally no hero can play in your lane. Yeah, Doom's just solid. Great hero. Not a whole lot of issues with him right now. You can buy Ags later on in the game when everyone has Lincolns. So you can just Ags yourself and then Doom everyone. AoE Doom. It's great. But yeah, that's the tier list. Again, just gonna start making videos, you know? Who cares? I'll put the F tier up here, move everything up a bit. So you can see if anyone wants to see this. But yeah, I'm gonna try and post some more videos on here, giving my noob takes. I feel like there's not a whole lot of Dota content out on YouTube right now, which is kind of sad because I love this game, and people just, there's a good amount of content creators out there, but not as much as I'd like. So let's just get some let's spread the Dota positivity. Spread the this is just my opinion, by the way, this tier list. So don't take it to heart or anything, but maybe you don't know what to pick in offlane right now. You're wondering what's going on. Maybe pick some Primal Beast, buy yourself a Shiva's, win some games. But yeah, thanks guys for listening to me rant on. Again, first time making a video, so don't expect too much. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day.